Australia's freedom protests. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look and just talk about the freedom protests that are occurring today in Australia, around the countries, multiple locations, in multiple cities, and often in defiance of the state. Illegal protests. So people have been arrested. People have been arrested in Victoria for posting about it on Facebook, even suggesting that they were going. Some were arrested for, would claim to be inciting because they tried to organise events in areas that don't have the lockdown restrictions of Melbourne. There was a protest planned for the Shrine of Remembrance, and people were marching towards it. Large numbers of people were heading towards the shrine and to protest venues across Melbourne. Now, either if you're in favour of these protests or if you're not, there's a few things we need to, discuss. People in a Western democratic nation should have the right to publicly voice their opinions in a peaceful, non-destructive manner. It should be a fundamental part of our democratic system. Victoria, right now, essentially is a police state. The state can suspend acts of parliament due to the emergency and the disaster situation that they've declared and which has been extended. So, laws and rights that you thought you have can be suspended. They can invade your home without a warrant. They can arrest you for Facebook posts. So it seems rather depressing. Now you've got numbers here. But there was another protest recently. Another protest in Victoria. And I'll bring this one up. Now this protest was a little larger. A little larger. It was one of the BLM protests. Look at those numbers marching up in Victoria. When it comes to political will, I suspect numbers are important. We'll jump back here to have a look. Numbers are important. But also, because people are raising the issue, why was no one arrested for organising the BLM protests? We still had the virus then. Why was no one held accountable? Why were no people charged? Because I'd make one argument. This is not counter to the popular narrative. BLM, all of these type of protests, they align quite readily with the social justice movement. They align with the prevalent political and ideological mood that seems to be sweeping the Western world at the moment. How many corporations do you see changing their logo? How many corporations do you see implementing discriminatory policies in support of this? These people are not the rebels. They're not the revolutionaries. They're not there, the brave ones going against the counter-narrative. They're simply going along with the flow. They're simply accepting the marketing narrative. I mean, just think about this. Protesting an event that happened on the other side of the world of no consequence to us here in Australia. And yet you have other people who are just trying to protest for their basic freedoms, their basic right to see family and friends. And, chanting for freedom. Here's some footage that I've seen. You can see here some more footage. But one thing that's interesting to see. Well, it's getting violent. The police are apprehending people. They're taking them away. Did we see this at BLM? Everyone? But another thing. Let's watch this footage here. This footage here. You can see here you have a ring of police, horses. I mean, look at that huge imbalance. The number of police compared to protesters. And watch what happens. Watch what happens. They burst into the crowd, the officers, and they take away the protesters one by one. Now the police, they're recording everything, and they need to be heavy-handed because they said they would. They said they would. Taking them off one by one. Now it's quite depressing to watch this happening here in Australia. Quite concerning that we've gotten to this point where you can have one group can happily march the streets and another are taken away, one after another. Now, the thing to consider is where to from here? This is the prevalent narrative. I tried to advocate to shift the Overton window through political means. People getting politically active. I'm hoping, perhaps naively, but I'm hoping that the footage that is going around the world will manifest itself in people finally realizing that the freedoms they probably took for granted and didn't realize they didn't actually have are getting eroded even more every day. And that certain groups are allowed to get away with things while others aren't. I'm hoping that will manifest in the, well, voting booth here in Queensland in the coming election. But we'll have to see. What do you all think, everyone? One thing that's fortunate in all the footage I've seen about the protests, it looks like no one was foolish enough to bring their children along. We saw the heartbreaking scenes of people being separated from their children because they were protesting. It's kind of a stupid thing. I think some people don't know the implications of that. You want to keep your children safe, and defying the state isn't a safe act. You also have, frankly, idiots. Idiots sharing propaganda like this. You know, huge crowds gathered already at Freedom Day rally in Melbourne. Sovereign citizens say no to Dictator Dan's National Socialism. Now, I don't know if this is a fake account or something, but you have people spreading false things using historical images. This is from Anzac Day in 2018, this particular image that's been edited, slightly cropped. Which is concerning, because people have legitimate reasons to be protesting. We're destroying the economy. Mental health issues are through the roof. There's new articles and reports coming out. Germany, for one example, saying that the lockdowns weren't warranted. Shutting all the shops weren't warranted. The idea was to flatten the curve, not to eliminate. What's happened to that? Sweden had a voluntary system, not as strict. Majority of people, a significant number, still self-isolated. People can behave. It's not discussed. So it's rather sad. What do you think, everyone? Do you think Australians are becoming more frustrated? Will it manifest in the political sphere? Or are people just giving up? Or is the fundamental difference being, well, that, it's too countercultural, too counter the narrative? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube and Patreon. Support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. Buy a merch from HeiseSays. Use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. I promise I'll have some happier videos next. Take care, and stay safe.